I, 32F, have been married to Joseph, 34M, for 5 years now. We've been together for a total of 8 years, and I thought we were a perfect match until recently. I have a younger brother, Earl, 28M, who has cerebral palsy and requires constant care. Our parents passed away in a car accident 3 years ago, leaving me as Earl's primary caregiver. To give some background, Earl and I grew up in a close-knit family. Our parents were incredibly supportive and dedicated their lives to ensuring Earl had the best care possible. Despite his condition, Earl has always been a bright and cheerful person. He has a great sense of humor and an infectious laugh that can light up a room. Growing up, I always felt protective of him, but our parents made sure I had my own life too. I met Joseph during my second year of college. We were in the same study group for our economics class. At first, we were just friends, but over time, our relationship grew into something more. Joseph was charming, ambitious, and seemed to have a kind heart. When I introduced him to my family, including Earl, he appeared to be understanding and supportive. When Joseph and I first started dating, he seemed understanding about my brother's condition. He would often accompany me to visit Earl at the care facility where he lived. However, I noticed that Joseph always seemed uncomfortable around Earl. He wouldn't engage in conversation with him and would often make excuses to leave early. I remember one particular visit when Earl was excited to show Joseph a painting he had made in his art therapy class. Joseph barely looked at it and quickly changed the subject. I felt a pang of disappointment but brushed it off, thinking Joseph was just nervous around people with disabilities. I tried talking to Joseph about it several times, but he always brushed it off, saying he was just shy around people with disabilities. I found this strange because Joseph was usually very outgoing and friendly with everyone else. He was the life of the party at social gatherings and could strike up a conversation with anyone. His behavior around Earl was a stark contrast to his usual demeanor. Still, I didn't push the issue too much, hoping he'd eventually become more comfortable around Earl. I thought that with time and exposure, Joseph would see Earl for the wonderful person he is, beyond his disability. After our parents died, I had to make the difficult decision to become Earl's full-time caregiver. It was a devastating time for both of us. Earl had always been close to our parents, and their sudden loss hit him hard. He struggled to understand why they weren't coming to visit him anymore. As for me, I was overwhelmed with grief and the sudden responsibility of being Earl's sole guardian. I discussed the situation with Joseph before we got married. We had been engaged for about a year at that point, and I knew that taking on Earl's care would significantly impact our lives. I was honest with Joseph about what it would entail: the daily care routines, the medical appointments, the potential limitations on our social life and travel plans. Joseph seemed supportive at the time. He told me he admired my dedication to my brother and that we would face this challenge together. We agreed that Earl would move in with us after the wedding. I was relieved and grateful for Joseph's understanding. I thought we were on the same page and that our love could overcome any obstacle. We got married in a small ceremony, with Earl as my man of honor. It was a bittersweet day, filled with joy but also a sense of loss as our parents weren't there to see it. Joseph was attentive and kind throughout the day, even helping Earl with his speech when he got nervous. I thought it was a sign of good things to come. However, things started to change after Earl moved in. The first few weeks were challenging as we all adjusted to the new living arrangement. I expected some teething problems, but I wasn't prepared for Joseph's complete change in attitude. Joseph became increasingly distant and irritable. He would spend long hours at work and avoid coming home. When he was home, he'd barely acknowledge Earl's presence. He would eat dinner in his office, claiming he had work to finish. Our conversations became stilted and focused only on household logistics. I tried to talk to him about it, but he'd always deflect, saying he was just stressed from work. He'd promised to try harder, but nothing ever changed. I started to feel like I was living with a stranger rather than my husband. One incident stands out in my mind. It was Earl's birthday, and I had planned a small celebration. I asked Joseph to pick up a cake on his way home from work. He forgot, and when I reminded him, he exploded in anger, saying he couldn't be expected to remember everything, and that I was always putting Earl's needs before his. I was shocked by his outburst and hurt that he didn't seem to care about making Earl's day special. The situation came to a head last week when I overheard Joseph on the phone with his mother. He was in his office, and I was walking past to check on Earl. The door was ajar, and I couldn't help but overhear his conversation. Joseph was complaining about how Earl's presence was ruining our marriage and how he couldn't stand living with someone like that. He said he felt trapped and that he never signed up for this. He told his mother that he missed his old life, and that he was considering leaving me if things didn't change. I was shocked and heartbroken to hear him speak about my brother that way. It felt like a betrayal of everything we had promised each other. I stood there, frozen, as tears streamed down my face. When I confronted Joseph about what I'd heard, he didn't even try to deny it. He told me that he'd been bottling up his feelings for years and couldn't take it anymore. He said that taking care of Earl was holding me back in life and that we'd never be able to have a normal family as long as Earl lived with us. Joseph went on to say that he had dreams of traveling the world, advancing in his career, and having children of our own. He felt that none of that was possible with Earl in our lives. He accused me of not considering his feelings and dreams when I decided to become Earl's caregiver. I was furious and told him that Earl was my family, and that I'd never abandon him. I reminded Joseph that he had agreed to this arrangement before we got married, and that his behavior was selfish and cruel. I also pointed out that Earl's presence didn't prevent us from pursuing our goals. It just meant we had to approach things differently. Joseph then gave me an ultimatum. Either Earl goes back to a care facility or he leaves. I was stunned that he would even suggest such a thing. The idea of sending Earl away, especially after he had already lost our parents, was unthinkable to me. I told him I needed time to think and left to stay with a friend for a few days. My friend Laura, 31F, has been incredibly supportive. She's known me since high school and understands my relationship with Earl. She offered her spare room and a sympathetic ear as I poured out my feelings of hurt and confusion. Now, I'm seriously considering divorce. I feel like I don't even know the man I married anymore. How could he be so cruel and selfish? Earl is my brother, and he needs me. I can't just abandon him because it's inconvenient for my husband. I'm torn because I do love Joseph, and we've built a life together. We have shared dreams and memories. We've supported each other through tough times, like when Joseph lost his job 2 years ago and I helped him start his own business. I thought we were partners who could face anything together. But I don't think I can stay with someone who doesn't accept my brother as part of our family. Earl isn't just a responsibility to me. He's my flesh and blood, my little brother who I've loved and protected all my life. The thought of choosing between them is tearing me apart. Am I overreacting? Should I try to work things out with Joseph? Or is this a deal breaker? I keep replaying our years together in my mind, wondering if there were signs I missed. Was Joseph always this intolerant, and I was just too blinded by love to see it? I'm planning to talk to a lawyer this week to understand my options. I want to be prepared for whatever decision I make. I'm also looking into support groups for siblings of people with disabilities. I feel so alone and conflicted right now. Any advice or support would be greatly appreciated. I'm struggling to see a way forward that doesn't involve heartbreak for someone I love. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me gain perspective on my situation and gave me the strength to face this difficult time. After my initial post, I decided to have one final conversation with Joseph to see if there was any way to salvage our marriage. I arranged for Earl to stay with a respite care service for a weekend so Joseph and I could talk without distractions. It was hard to leave Earl, even for a short time, but I knew this conversation was necessary. I spent the days leading up to our talk reflecting on our relationship and preparing what I wanted to say. I thought about the good times we'd shared, our first date at that quirky Italian restaurant where Joseph spilled wine all over himself, our backpacking trip through Europe where we got lost in the streets of Prague but discovered the most beautiful hidden church, the quiet nights at home just enjoying each other's company. I wanted to believe that the man I fell in love with was still there somewhere. When the weekend came, Joseph and I sat down in our living room. The tension was palpable. I started by expressing how hurt I was by his words and actions regarding Earl. I explained that Earl wasn't just a burden or an obligation to me, but an integral part of my life and my family. During our conversation, Joseph revealed that he had never been comfortable with the idea of being a caregiver to Earl. He admitted that he had hoped I would change my mind about having Earl live with us after we got married. He said he felt like he was living with a stranger and that our home no longer felt like his own. Joseph went on to describe how he felt our life had become centered around Earl's needs. He mentioned missed dinner dates, canceled vacations, and the constant worry about Earl's health. He said he felt like he was losing me to my role as a caregiver and that he missed the carefree woman he had fallen in love with. I was taken aback by the depth of his resentment. I hadn't realized how much he had been bottling up. I tried to explain to Joseph how important Earl was to me and how I couldn't just abandon my brother. I reminded him of the vows we took, for better or for worse, and how I believed that included supporting each other through family challenges. I suggested couples therapy to help us work through this issue. I thought that with professional help, we might be able to find a balance that worked for all of us. But Joseph was adamant that he couldn't live with Earl anymore. He said he had tried for years and couldn't do it any longer. The conversation quickly turned heated. Joseph accused me of loving Earl more than him and said that I was using my brother as an excuse to avoid intimacy in our marriage. He claimed that I was so focused on being Earl's caregiver that I had neglected my role as a wife. I was shocked by his words and realized that there was a lot more going on than just his discomfort with Earl. It seemed that Joseph had been harboring these feelings for a long time, allowing them to fester and grow into something ugly. In the heat of the moment, Joseph said something I'll never forget. He told me that he sometimes wished Earl had died in the accident with our parents, so that we could have a normal life. The moment those words left his mouth, I saw a side of Joseph I had never seen before. It was like a mask had slipped, revealing a person I didn't recognize. I was absolutely devastated by this statement. It felt like a knife through my heart. How could he wish death on my brother, someone who had already suffered so much? It was cruel beyond anything I could have imagined Joseph capable of. At that moment, I knew there was no going back. The love and trust I had for Joseph shattered into a million pieces. I told him that I wanted a divorce. The look of shock on his face told me he hadn't expected me to actually go through with it. He had underestimated how much his words would affect me. Joseph tried to backtrack, saying he didn't mean what he said about Earl, that it was just spoken in anger. But I knew that even if he didn't truly wish Earl dead, the fact that he could say such a thing, even in anger, was unforgivable. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. I've since moved out of our house with Earl and we're staying with my aunt for now. My aunt Carol, 55F, has been incredibly supportive. She helped me pack up our things and has been assisting with Earl's care while I sort out our living situation. I've contacted a divorce lawyer and we're starting the process. It's overwhelming to think about dismantling the life Joseph and I built together, but I know it's necessary. My lawyer has been helpful in explaining the process and what I can expect. Joseph has been calling and texting nonstop, begging for another chance. He's promised to try harder with Earl, to go to therapy, to do whatever it takes to save our marriage. But I've blocked his number. I can't forgive what he said about wishing my brother was dead. Those words play on repeat in my mind, reminding me of the ugliness that was hiding beneath the surface of our relationship. This whole situation has been incredibly difficult, but I know I'm making the right decision. Earl is my family, and I won't abandon him for anyone. The way Joseph spoke about him showed a fundamental lack of empathy and understanding that I don't think can be fixed. I'm looking into buying a small house that will be more accessible for Earl's needs. It's daunting to think about managing a mortgage on my own, but I'm determined to create a stable home for Earl and me. I'm scared about the future and how I'll manage on my own, but I also feel a sense of relief. I realize now that I've been walking on eggshells around Joseph for years, always trying to make him comfortable with Earl's presence. It's exhausting, and I don't want to live like that anymore. There are moments when I miss Joseph, or rather, the person I thought he was. I miss having a partner to share my life with. But then I remember his cruel words, and I know I'm better off without him. Thank you all again for your support. It means more than you know to have people understand and validate my feelings. I'll update again when there are any significant developments in the divorce process. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and things have been moving quickly. The divorce proceedings are underway, and it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Some days I feel strong and sure of my decision, while other days I find myself second-guessing everything. Joseph initially tried to contest the divorce, claiming that I was making a rash decision based on one heated argument. He even went as far as to suggest that I was mentally unstable due to the stress of caring for Earl. This accusation hurt deeply, but it also reaffirmed that I was making the right choice in ending our marriage. The Joseph I thought I knew would never have stooped so low. I'm grateful that I had documented Joseph's behavior and comments over the years. Looking back, I realized there were many small incidents that I had brushed off or made excuses for, like the time Joseph forgot to invite Earl to his birthday dinner, or when he conveniently had to work late every time we had plans to visit Earl's favorite park. My lawyer used this information to build a strong case for the divorce. We're pushing for a quick resolution, as I want to move on with my life as soon as possible. One unexpected development is that Joseph's family has reached out to me. His sister, Lisa, 30F, called me last week. We'd always gotten along well, and I considered her a friend. She apologized for her brother's behavior and told me that she and their parents were shocked when they found out the real reason for our divorce. Apparently, Joseph had been telling them a different story, painting himself as the victim of an unreasonable wife who cared more about her brother than her marriage. Lisa shared some information that shed new light on Joseph's behavior. She revealed that their cousin had a severe disability and had lived with them for a few years when they were teenagers. Joseph had struggled to cope with the situation and had been in therapy for it. He never told me about this, and it explains a lot about his discomfort around Earl. While this information helps me understand Joseph's behavior, it doesn't excuse it. If anything, it makes me more upset that he never shared this part of his past with me. We could have addressed his issues earlier in our relationship if he had been honest. It feels like another betrayal, another secret he kept from me. On a positive note, Earl and I have settled into a nice routine at our aunt's house. She's been incredibly supportive and has even offered to help with Earl's care when I need a break. Earl seems to be adjusting well to the change. He asks about Joseph sometimes, which breaks my heart, but overall, he seems happier and more relaxed without the constant tension in the house. I'm still looking for a suitable house for us, but it's challenging to find something that meets all of Earl's needs within my budget. I've been working extra hours at my job to save up for a down payment. It's exhausting, but the thought of having our own space again keeps me going. I've also started attending a support group for siblings of people with disabilities. It's been incredibly helpful to connect with others who understand my situation. Through the group, I've met a woman named Rachel, 35F, who has become a close friend. She's been through a similar situation with her ex-husband and her autistic sister, and her advice has been invaluable. Rachel has helped me see that I'm not alone in my struggles. She shared her own experiences of feeling torn between her marriage and her sister's needs. It's comforting to know that others have faced similar challenges and come out stronger on the other side. The divorce is taking its toll emotionally, but I'm staying strong for Earl. He senses that something is wrong, but I'm doing my best to keep things stable for him. I've been trying to maintain our usual routines as much as possible, like our weekly movie nights and our Saturday morning walks in the park. I'm also looking into additional support services to help with Earl's care, as I realize I need to take better care of myself too. It's easy to get lost in the role of caregiver and forget about my own needs. I'm considering hiring a part-time aide to give me a few hours to myself each week. As for Joseph, I've heard through mutual friends that he's been telling people I'm keeping him from seeing Earl. It's frustrating because he never showed much interest in spending time with Earl before. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but it's hard not to feel angry about the way he's twisting the situation. Despite all the challenges, I know I'm making the right decision. The support I've received from friends, family, and even strangers on the internet has been overwhelming. It's given me the strength to keep moving forward, even on the toughest days. I'll update again when the divorce is finalized or if there are any significant developments. Thank you all for your continued support and advice. It means more than you know. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I'm happy to report that the divorce has been finalized. It was a difficult process, but it's finally over. The last few months have been a whirlwind of emotions, legal meetings, and big changes, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. In the end, Joseph didn't put up much of a fight. I think he realized that his actions were indefensible, especially after his family learned the truth about his behavior towards Earl. We agreed on a fair division of assets, and I was able to keep our house, which I've since modified to better accommodate Earl's needs. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. It's strange to think that my marriage is over, but I know it's for the best. I've come to realize that Joseph and I were fundamentally incompatible, and staying together would have only led to more pain and resentment. Earl has adjusted well to our new life. He misses Joseph sometimes, which is hard for me to see, but overall, he seems happier and more relaxed. I've hired a part-time caregiver to help with Earl's needs, which has given me some much-needed time for myself. It's been a game changer in terms of managing my stress levels and preventing burnout. I've continued attending the support group, and it's become an important part of my life. The friendships I've made there have been a lifeline during this difficult time. Rachel, in particular, has been an amazing friend and support. She's helped me navigate the complexities of being a sibling caregiver, while also trying to maintain my own identity and pursue my own goals. As for Joseph, I haven't heard from him since the divorce was finalized. His sister Lisa told me that he's moved to another state for a new job. Part of me is sad that our relationship ended this way, but I know it's better for both of us to have a clean break. I hope he finds peace, and maybe even learns to be more understanding of people with disabilities. Looking back, I can see now that there were red flags in our relationship from the beginning. I ignored them because I loved Joseph and wanted our marriage to work. But love isn't enough when there's a fundamental lack of respect and understanding. It's a hard lesson to learn, but an important one. I'm focusing now on building a good life for Earl and myself. I've started taking online classes to improve my job prospects, and I'm even considering writing a book about my experiences as a sibling caregiver. I want to share my story in the hope that it might help others who are in similar situations. Earl is thriving in our new routine. We've found a great day program for adults with disabilities that he attends 3 times a week. He's making friends and learning new skills, which is wonderful to see. On the days he's home, we spend quality time together, whether it's working on his art projects or watching his favorite movies. This journey has been incredibly difficult, but it's also taught me a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. I'm stronger than I ever knew, and I'm proud of the decisions I've made. I've learned the importance of setting boundaries, of asking for help when I need it, and of not compromising my values for anyone. There are still challenging days, of course. Days when I feel overwhelmed by the responsibility of caring for Earl, or when I miss the companionship of a partner. But I'm learning to take each day as it comes and to appreciate the small joys in life. While this will be my final update, I want you all to know that Earl and I are doing well and looking forward to the future. We're not just surviving, we're thriving, and I'm excited to see what the next chapter of our lives will bring.